Well, good morning and welcome to one and all. It is Saturday, the 10th of August. It's so great to see each and every one of you. If you're watching the replay, say hi in the comments. I always love seeing who is joining us. And if you're joining the live chat, welcome and thank you so much for hopping up early on a Saturday morning or a Saturday evening, depending on where you are in the world. I have brought along my very good friend Ginger from the Copycat Quilter. She's been on a couple of times before, but it's been a little while, so we figured we'd bring her back to say hi and we'll have a nice little chat. We may even get some sewing done. So for anyone that doesn't know Ginger, I'm going to let her introduce herself so you can learn a little bit more about her.
Sure. So my YouTube channel is the Copycat Quilter, and I started the channel because I love to quilt and I love to teach people to quilt and to share it. To get other people addicted. So I do whatever. I do a variety of stuff on my channel. I like traditional patchwork, but I usually have to mix it up my own version of it. I don't tend to ever make a pattern by someone else's pattern. So I think it's like attention span. I can't pay attention and focus that long to finish somebody else's pattern. So yeah, it's just a variety of stuff.
And it's interesting you say that, like you don't like finishing someone like the attention span. I think I suffer from that as well. And I found because I've been thinking about this a lot, I prefer to do like a sampler pattern where I'm only doing this one block once, having to do the same block over and over and over and over again, like what I'm working on here, is not my idea of, it's not what I gravitate towards. I much prefer to do I think that's why I like the Art East and the Elizabeth Hartman stuff so much, because I do one cow, one chicken, one pig, one Alice, one, cowardly lion, that sort of thing there. So, maybe you're in a similar situation where a sampler block would work well for you. But let's move on real quick to see who is here. We've got a wonderful, huge crowd here with us this morning. It's so good to see each and every one of you. And I hope I don't miss anybody, but I may. It looks like my friend Dragonfly Sedona is here. Good morning to you. Good morning to Michelle's Crafts and More. Has a wonderful channel. Go check it out. ! Michelle. Good morning to Melanie Taylor. Good morning to my friend Joyty, who has a big front seat up front. It's not Spirit Airlines, but I like that term. Brenda Foley, good morning. It's good to see you. Good evening to Catherine from Tasmania. It's always good to see you as well. She was here bright and early with us this morning. We've said good morning to Brenda and Joyty, and everyone's chatting, which is always great. Good afternoon to Diana Corday. She says, good morning from the UK, where I'm on holiday. So she is having fun in the UK. I believe she's my wonderful viewer that usually lives in Bermuda, if I remember correctly. Jacqueline Spear, good morning to you. And good morning to my friend Jess from Slow Blessed by Jess. And she has a great channel as well, ! Jess. And if you have your own channel, go ahead and throw your channel link in. I always encourage folks to do that. It's always good to see, people doing that. Okay, my friend Handmade by Ying McDonough is here with us. Good morning to you. She has a great channel, and she's been wildly successful. It's always good to see her hop in as well. Judy Herbert, Barbara Cade. I hope I'm not missing anybody. My friend Stephen from Blandy's Eyed and Idiot Quilter. Good morning to you. It's always good to see my mate Steve. Yes.
No, I just said hi to him. I can't see the chat, so you'll have to tell me if somebody.
I'll read it to you. So, Symphony Maria Field is here with us. My mate Mike from New York Beauty. He had a lot of fun with Fallon and Donna a couple of weeks ago at the Great Peel Off. That was a lot of fun to watch. If you haven't seen that, go watch the replay. Good morning, Miss Chloe. It is good to see you as well. Katie Crafts. My chat just jumped. My friend Andy from True Blue Quilts is here. She says, hi, Sean. Nice to meet you, Ginger. I was just thinking about her the other day. I was like, I haven't heard from my mate Andy in a while. So it's good to see that you're here with us. And my mate Fallon is here with us as well. It's good to see you. She has a wonderful channel. You need to go check that one out. Along with my friend So Quilty of Melissa. And Melissa, I did get your package the other day. I kept meaning to say I received it. Thank you so much. I'll share that in the podcast tomorrow. But I did receive it. It's so beautiful. You have to come back tomorrow morning and see the podcast just to see the beautiful Hawaiian fabric she sent me. It is gorgeous. You'll love that as well. I know I missed someone, but now it's going to escape me. Katie Cross. Okay. So what did you bring along, before I get too distracted, what did you bring along to sew with you today, Miss Ginger?
Well, I'm going to sew some blocks with improv curves, because I like to do the curves improv and I don't have to think a lot about it. So I figured that way I can talk. But I wanted to show you what I thought I would do. And no, my son has a little Siamese kitten who he's had since New Year's, and she still won't let him touch her. They are having this war of wills of who's going to break first. So I'm doing a Bigfoot quilt for him. I have a Bigfoot panel, and I want to do a quilt, but I want to put a picture of Truffles in it because he just calls her like she's a little monster and stuff. Let's see. I haven't done paper piecing before, but let's see if you can see that.
Well,
It's a really cute.
There's a few FPP experts here, including Donna. She is a big specialist in FPP. So if you need help, that sort of thing there, I'm probably not your best resource, but there are plenty of people here in the chat that'll be able to help you out.
So it's like a really cute little kitten. Let's see. But look how many pieces are on this thing. I mean, it's so elaborate for somebody who doesn't do paper piecing, but I have to do it. It's like it's the perfect little kitten. So I started, but look at some of these pieces. I mean, sheesh. Some of these are like less than a 1/4 inch triangle and things like that. So I blew it up a whole lot. I blew it up like 150%, so it'd be bigger. And I think now it's going to make about a 12 or 14 inch block. But I thought I would do that today, and then I'm like, nah, I can't do that today. That requires a lot of thinking, especially since I don't normally do it. And you can see I had a massive fail on the first piece I tried to do. So, I mean, it's falling apart. So we're not doing that today.
Well, it's like anything. It's a learning curve. I am very much a beginner at FPP myself. I gravitate more towards traditional piecing. But yeah, man, it's going to be a lot of fun. And you will learn from that experience, I'm sure. Everyone's saying that you'll do a great job of it. Donna has said that you can reach out if you need any help with that. And I said she's a wonderful resource. I've reached out to her a couple of times myself with FPP projects. My friend Beth from Goody Goods is another wonderful resource. She actually taught me how to do FPP. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of people out there that can help you if you need that. And if you're in the audience watching and you need help with FPP and you want to watch some really good videos, I would recommend Donna's channel. I would recommend Beth from Goody Goods and that sort of thing there as well. Donna says that she's awaiting me to join her for the Dragon. That is coming up in the next couple of months. I actually, funny story that you mentioned that, Donna, is that I found this book setting up Amanda's classroom, and she has this like wooden file folder holder thing. And she's like, oh, I'm just going to get rid of this thing. I'm like, no, give it here. I said, that's going to be great for my file folders for Toasty. So I've got a storage section all set up for that now. So all I have to do now is go get the fabrics and we'll start that, in the next couple of months. I have to finish up a few quilts. I'm working on the quilts for the 2 girls because our first exchange student arrives next Saturday morning. So soon. And then I've got my state fair quilt to make. And then, yeah, we might look at Toasty. Sometime after that. So yeah, I've been teasing everybody for way too long. We need to get Toasty up and running. That's definitely in the works. I want to say good morning to my friend Linda from Irish Sail Lady. It's always good to see her as well. And I think everyone's just talking to each other. I don't want to miss anybody. Okay, I think we're good. Oh, yeah, my friend Andrea popped in as well. So it's good to see each and every one of you. Okay, so what am I working on? I am quilting the snippets quilt. So we'll just I'm just doing a basic just going around almost circles. Just figured we'd make it nice and simple. I don't want to do anything too extravagant. So that's what I am working on as well. Okay, so let's see. What was I going to do? Sometimes I come on here and I think I'm going to be organized, and then I start, and it's not quite that way. So Chloe says it's a good idea to use the file folder. I think I actually borrowed that idea from Donna. I think she was one of the first ones I saw do that. So yeah, that's good. Okay, so what was I going to do? I was going to do something, and I was going to throw a question out for the viewers. That's what I was going to do. Okay. I found some funny. We asked that question last time. Okay, let's throw this one up. Would you rather get free plane tickets for... What is wrong with... Oh, okay. Would you rather get free plane tickets or free accommodations for the rest of your life? and I would love to hear everybody's answer in the audience as well. So, what about you, Ginger? Which one would you prefer?
You know what? If I was 20 years younger, I'd do the plane tickets. But the older I get, like every time I travel now, it's just exhausting. Like I get jet lag when I haven't changed time zones. So I'd probably go for the accommodations because, like I said, I've been international a couple of times, and the last time I went international, like I could hardly walk the next day because my legs were so swollen from being on the plane, so long. So I think I'd have to go with the accommodations.
Yeah, and I think for me, I think I'd have to cheat and say, okay, but the plane tickets are going to have to be first class. Because, like you said, you fly internationally, and a lot of people think that if you fly internationally in coach class, that they give you these nice plush seats and plenty of leg room and all that sort of stuff. No, the same plane that you take from Chicago to Denver, where you have this much room between you and the person in front of you, it's the same when you fly across an ocean. So, yeah, it would definitely have to be first class or business class. I think if that was the case, I would definitely take the plane tickets because those puppies are not cheap when I go to Australia. So, yeah. But I think I think the accommodation is also a very enticing thing. If I didn't have to fly halfway across the world to see family and friends, I think I'd definitely pick the accommodation as well. Okay, so let's see. A lot of people are saying accommodation. I think Donna said plane tickets for the win, but I think everybody else is saying accommodations. Andy says free accommodations. It's nice to have your own car to get around. That's a very good point as well. Okay, Mike says accommodation after yesterday's news. I'm not too fond of planes staying up in the air lately, and that's definitely a concern. Diana says plane tickets. I have family in New Zealand and Australia. So yeah, I think the ones that have family far, far away are choosing the plane tickets, and the other ones are choosing accommodation. So that was a fun question. I enjoyed that one. So there we go.
I'm about 5'3". I never have legroom issues. Like I have plenty of leg room. I can stretch my feet under the seat in front of me.
See, and that's where it's an advantage to be short. You go to the grocery store, and like if you're 5'3", and there's stuff things sitting on the very, very top shelf. That's a problem. But for me, I'm just like, oh, here we go. I'll just go grab it.
That's when we stop guys like you and hey, can you get that?
I've actually started to asking people now, hey, do you want something down from the top shelf? People come up and ask me all the time, and I have not the first problem with it. But yeah,
I've got one son that's one of my sons is about 6'2", and when he lived with me, he's a chef. He loves to cook, so the top cabinet shelves were his for his special stuff because I couldn't reach there anyway. So those were his shelves. He had plenty of access to the top shelves.
I actually I remember I was at some stores years ago. There was some little, some young lady, and she was actually climbing up the shelves. I'm like, get down, climbing them shelves. She's like, I've got to do what I've got to do. I'm like, look, I'm here. I can help you. I said, I know how these things are constructed. Like, I don't want you falling off this thing. Please just let me get it down for you.
And it's funny too. That's another thing. The older you get, the more likely people are to help you. Like, I feel like I'm kind of in that little old lady stage, and I'm not little old lady status, but I don't mind people like helping me and picking up things for me, or they'll put my luggage in the overhead bin for me. I usually try to bring just stuff that I can fit under the seat, so I don't have to try to do that.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely with you on that. So, but no, that's me. So, okay. So, let's throw this question out there to everybody. Since we're talking about tall and short, would you rather be tall or short? We're not going to let you be in the middle. So you can either be 6'2" or 5'2", or if you're in the metric world, you can be 155 centimeters or 185.
We did metrics on the last live we did together. We got in a whole discussion about metrics and about converting and all that.
And that's one of the things that the kids like when our exchange students come here all from Europe, so they all know the metric system, and they come over here and they've got to learn Fahrenheit and feet and inches and miles and cups and all that sort of mess there. And yeah, thankfully the kids that come to us are very, very fortunate because I get to convert for them until they get to learn, the measurement system here. They all pick it up eventually, but it's one less thing they have to worry about when they first get here. Sorry, I was just
I'm
trying to make
pick
sure I
out
didn't.
colors. I'm trying to find colors of what I want to play with today.
Okay, so Nancy says she'd rather be tall. Mum and Pop is here with us in the house. Good morning to Miss Laura Lynn and Kent if he is floating around. Diana says short, she's 5'1". Linda says she's 5'2" and loves it. Donnell says she's 5'2" and is happy with her height. Joyce says no fear, I can't pick in the middle. No, you got to pick one or the other if you're playing along. Okay, Brenda says she was 5'5" in the 8th grade. Now she's 5'4". I'm fine either way. Jess says she's tall as long as I'm coordinated. I love playing competitive sports. Okay, so Quilty Melissa says I'm short now. I'm fine with it. Nothing wrong with 5'2". Yeah, I get jealous of the 5'2" to 5'1" ladies on the international flights because you guys can curl up and go to sleep, and I'm sitting there like all cramped up. It's not my idea. Yeah, I get very jealous of the short people on the flights. But you know, you take what you can get. So
I would stay short. I mean, I don't mind. Well, I guess you get used to it after a while. So not like I've known what it's like to be tall.
Yeah, I mean, I like being tall except for when I fly or go on a bus or any other form of transport. So there we go. Okay, so Michelle says she's 5'5". Dragonflies for Donna says short T-Rex. Okay, so apparently everyone wants to be short, so that's a good thing. Okay. Java Joni, good morning. I have not seen you in the chat in a very long time. It's good to see you as well. She says, hi, Sean and Ginger. I think tall people should help with the top shelves and shorter people should help with the bottoms. Oh, that's an idea. I like that. Should help with the bottom shelves. I'm 5'9", and spouse is 6'2", and we're happy to help. Yeah, I agree. Like, you know, back in the day, you could ask a store, employee to help you get stuff off the top shelf. They're very scarce these days, it seems like. So yeah, we do need to help each other out and that sort of thing there. And that's one reason I'm more than happy to help people out at the store. You know, if I see them try and look at something on the top shelf, I'm like, look, let me just get it down for you. It's going to take me 12 seconds. My life is not that busy that I can't stop for 12 seconds to help you out. So yeah, I like the idea that short people get stuff off the bottom shelf for me, just make my life a little easier. Love that as well. Okay, and Stephen comes up with his response, which is, I am practically perfect in every way. LOL. that is Stephen in a nutshell. Isn't that like a movie quote from somewhere?
Mary Poppins.
Yes, okay.
Perfectly something.
Something like, yeah, it sounded familiar to me.
Let me show you the improv blocks that I've already made. And these were like test ones. I actually have a quilt that I did at the G's Bend retreat that I used some of these strange colors in. I also took colors that weren't normal or weren't my favorites to like challenge myself to use. Let me see. I'll do it this way so you can see them. But I've been having fun with this. At some point, I'll size them up some way so I can put them together. But it's fun.
That looks fun, yeah.
You just cut and sew and cut and sew. This one I'll cut and do something. But yeah.
That's awesome. Cappy from My Hobby Home says she is fun size. That's a great way of putting it. I love that. So you've been working with scraps a lot, it seems like, Ginger. Is that correct?
Yeah, and it's funny because my definition of scraps is kind of liberal. I kind of think of it as anything that's in my sewing room already that I didn't have to go buy. But
me too.
Yeah, these were like pieces off of other things that I'd already cut that I don't have big pieces for. And
yeah, I have the exact same definition. If I bought yardage for something and then I've cut a piece off it, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-inch square or I've used all but 2-inch square, it's a scrap. So if it's not currently being used for a current project, it's a scrap. And thankfully I'm making a fairly good dent in my scrap bin. So
and I was talking to a friend of mine that a lady from our guild that does a lot of scraps, and we were both talking and like I don't want designer fabric because across the room somebody would be like, oh, that's Kay or that's Tula Pink. I don't want people looking at my quilts and seeing the fabric designer as much as the quilt, You go to
Yeah.
a quilt show and you can definitely tell if somebody's a Tula fan or Cave. It's like you know those fabrics instantly.
See, whereas I go to the quilt show and I'm like, oh, that's John's pattern from Art East, and that's Elizabeth Hartman. So they're the ones I first go to. They're like the first ones I take pictures of. So yeah, I think I'm more of a pattern aficionado or whatever they call it, more so than a fabric. I do love Tula's fabric. Like Tula print comes up with some wonderful fabrics along with so many others. But yeah, I'm definitely more drawn to the pattern than I am to the fabrics. That's another good question. Let's throw it out in the audience as well. If you come here and you're new, you got to learn. I ask a lot of questions. Normally it's about food and I make everybody hungry, but today it seems to be all over the place, which is a good thing. So let's see. Do you get drawn more towards a pattern like I do, or would you be more geared towards the fabric lines? I'd love to hear it because I know there's a lot of Tula Pink fans, for instance, and that sort of thing there. So I'd love to hear in the comments as well. Let's see.
I
Gloria
think you know
says
my
she's
answer. I think you know my
Yeah.
answer if I say like I don't like to make other people's quilts. I don't remember the last time I made one that was completely by a pattern.
Yeah, and I love that you can do that. It's so fun to see that you improvise and you do your own thing. You know, it's nice having patterns out there. I like working with other people's patterns mostly, especially John's and Elizabeth's. They are my go-tos just because I like their style. But I'm also starting to dabble in doing my own pattern writing as well. So
yeah, and that's the fun thing about quilting is it's like everybody's got their thing they like to do. And you know, my mom follows a pattern precisely. She'll even buy the colors of the fabric usually that, you know, the picture is, and that's her thing. And she's a prolific quilter and she enjoys that. And I was testing a pattern and asked her to do it, a pattern that I was writing, and asked her to make it. And I was kind of wanting to see if she could follow my sketchy instructions. And she was able to. So I'm like, okay, well, you know, there's enough instruction there at basis that someone that wants that could make it, you know. And then there's the freedom if you don't.
Yeah, and to me, a pattern is very much like a recipe when you're cooking. You know, it's a great baseline. You don't have to follow it 100%. The pattern design is not going to if you do it slightly differently. I know John, for instance, for one, he loves seeing the variations that people put on his patterns, like the different when they choose different fabrics to what the kit is and that sort of thing there as well. So yeah, it's great seeing that people, you know, put their own spin on it. And some of the most fun pattern, like the Wizard of Oz and that I was working on, and the Alice in Wonderland, they had like a nice slideshow at the very end at the reveal party, and seeing everybody. And yeah, some of the best ones that I liked the most were the ones where people did their own thing. So there we go. All right, let's see who else has put stuff in the chat for us real quick. Kathy says she's pattern driven. Jeannie says good morning. Dragonfly Donna said started out drawing the fabric, now in the pattern. Diana says pattern and color. Melanie Taylor says she was 5'8" at highs, but because of osteoporosis, I'm 5'4". Michelle says she's fabric driven, but not any specific designer. I buy like what I like. I'm like that too, really, for the most part as well. Andrea says she normally designs a pattern for the fabric she likes to use. Sheila says good morning. It's good to see my friend Sheila. Polly says Judy Niemeyer is incredible for patterns. I have one of her patterns. I have not been brave enough to try it yet. I need to get I think I'm going to do Toasty first, get used to FPP before I try and tackle the pattern I have. So Quilted Melissa says both. She's a kit person. Fallon says she likes fabric, and then I like to see how it works into a pattern. I don't care who the designer is for the fabric, though. Brenda says she's drawn to the colors. She adores Robin Pickens colors. Petey Cross is fabric driven, but not by designer. Melanie Taylor says I definitely have one of those grabbers on top of the fridge. Noticed yesterday, I can't reach it now. My friend Laura Craftwell of Art continues, says hello, how are you, Sean? It's good to see you. I have not seen you in the chat in a while. It's always good to see you as well. Let's see. So Blessed by Jess says I'm fabric driven. The patterns will follow. I have an impromptu project I work on. And okay, so there we go. All right. So I'm making good progress on my quilt. I'm really excited on how far I've gotten so far. I think this is actually going to get done a lot quicker than I expected, which is never the case. That's
the
scary.
one that was from the leftover or the extra pack from the art.
Yeah,
one of
that's from the
art
snippets.
right?
Yeah, this was from Cotton Cuts. They sent out a package, like a small package of just scraps. When they cut out the stuff for the puzzle mystery quilt, they have offcuts that's left over. Sometimes it's long, thin strips. Sometimes it's like triangles. Mine was mostly triangles, so I just cut them all up into 2.5-inch half square triangles and just put them all together and made this little wall hanging. So right now I am just quilting it. I'm not sure how well you can see it because I'm doing it all in black. So that way, I like to say I do it with black because that way it hides my sins. All my imperfections. It's going to look beautiful at the end of the day, but I don't need. I thought about doing a contrasting color, but trying to find a contrasting color that would match all this was going to be hard. And then I figured, well, if I do it in black, it'll match the back because it's just a black backing, nothing fancy. And then it'll also hide any imperfections or that sort of thing there as well. And I figured if I did this, the chance of me having to bring up my very, very bestest friend was greatly reduced.
Yeah. That's the fun thing with improv. You don't have to rip it out. In fact, a lot of times if I make a mistake that would need to be seam ripped, I just slice it some different way. And then, or I cut that seam off and then just, make a new one or change the size or whatever.
That's an idea. I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, it's very, very true. You can do that. Okay, so let's see. Kathy says she finally got her box last week of Cotton Cuts. I haven't opened it up yet. Yep, mine should be here Monday. So yeah, they got delayed a little bit in getting everything shipped out. But yeah, mine will be here soon, so that's a good thing.
Oh, excuse me.
Clue 2 doesn't come out for another couple of weeks, so I'm still ahead of the game because they sent out my Clue 1 a little early because because I'm an ambassador. But if you are behind, I don't know about the large because I didn't do the large, but the small came it came together very, very, very quickly. So, all right, Dragonflies Adonis says the dotted fabric in your quilt, is that that background of antique newspaper tan color? I believe so. It's a line called, let me go and find it. It's, I went and looked at this the other day and it was really, really fun. But yeah, there's a whole line of it. Let's see. It's called Tim Holtz Eclectic Elements for Free Spirit Fabrics. So if you looked it up, and I'll email it to you later. Actually, I'll throw it in the chat real quick. Here's my keyboard up there on my knee. You'd think I'd be able to know where it is. Okay. I am so distracted this morning. It's not funny. Actually, if we're smart.
And so you did ask me about scraps, and that's what I've been doing most of the summer. I haven't been able to put out very many videos because that scrap summit, it's called Conquer Your Fabric Scraps Summit, starts next week on the 15th. And I was really honored to get asked to be one of the presenters. So I have a class on there about how to choose the colors for your scrap quilts and inspiration. It's called Secret Color Tools. And then also a block that I did on one of my other videos that's great to eat up your scraps and to use for your scraps. So I'm excited about that. It's a free summit. And when she invited me, I thought it sounded familiar and I went and looked and I actually attended it last year. But the classes get released in the mornings, so you don't have to be online to see the live, at a very specific time. And then they're available for, I think, 48 hours. But
okay, so you don't have to attend it live.
Yeah. And then you get a lot of free patterns and handouts and projects, as part of that package. And that's all in the free part. So it's really cool and it's free. Like what can you say other than it's free?
Yeah, and that's awesome. And I've put the link in for the event into the chat as well. Or you can put an exclamation point scrap if you're coming back to and I'll have to put it in the description of the video, so that way if anyone's coming back to watch this later on, they'll be able to see it. But I put in your affiliate link because it is free, but there is an optional paid extra. If you're interested, it gives you a bunch of different options. When you go to sign up, it will show you what the optional extras are. And a lot of patterns, a lot of videos that you get to access for a long, long time. I'm not an affiliate or anything else like that. I just saw it and thought it'd be really, really useful to some folks out there. So yeah, go check it out. But if you want to just go check out the summit, it's free of charge. It's so easy to sign up for. I've registered for it so I can go check it out, because I've never heard of this summit before. Ginger said, hey, have you heard of this thing? I'm like, no, I haven't heard of this, but tell me more about it. So yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited that you're presenting. And then a couple of my other friends are actually presenting as well. My friend Chris from Soda Distance, who's been on the channel a couple of times, and is a dear friend of Fallon's, is presenting. And my friend Brenda from Conquering Mount Scrapmore with Brenda, who I also adore, is presenting. And then I thought there was a third one.
Yeah, there's 21 teachers.
Yeah, I thought there was 4 people that done it, but it might just be 3.
Well,
I have trouble counting sometimes. So
yeah, it's cool. It's even if you go when you register now, there are like 5-minute introductions of each teacher. And in those 5-minute introductions, we all give tips about scrap management or color theory, or using your scraps, what kinds of patterns. So that's even available to watch now. And whenever we made the videos, one of the criteria was on those introduction videos, she wanted you to show a couple of tips, so that even if that's the only part you watch, you get ideas from that. And that part's available now. And then the classes start releasing next week.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that you could do that. So yeah, I mean, I registered and figured I'd just go take a look and see what's going on once it started. But yeah, I'll have to go check out the different teachers and that sort of thing there. I think that'd be a lot of fun. So all right. Okay, Andrea said she's glad they're doing it that way because I have to take hubby to the airport. Okay, yeah, and I have to work. Yeah, during some of this stuff too. Okay, so Stephen's asking, what is the name of the summit? It is called
Conquer Your Fabric Scraps.
Yes, and I put the link in as well. It's you'll see it there. You can put an exclamation point scrap if you're watching the live. If you're watching the replay, I'll have the description in the I'll put the link in the description right after we get off the live. So that way, if you come back and watch this later, by the time you get to this part, it'll be there for you as well. So that way you can access it as well. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. And it's nice to know that you don't have to be there like at school where you have to be there at that particular time. I thought you'd have to be there at that time. So that's nice that it's kind of like on demand.
Yeah, I think each day they release a set. And so it's the 15th, 16th, 17th, and 18th. And then the video from that day is available for 48 hours. If you get the bundle package, you get access to it longer. And yeah, like when I attended last year, I actually bought the bundle package. So when she asked me this year, I'm like, this sounds very familiar. And so I actually was able to go back and watch the videos from last year, again, and still have access to the patterns and all those kind of things. But the free part, like, I believe in taking advantage of everything free that you can get.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, even if you check it out, the free part this year, and then next year you might go, okay, well, that was great. I think I'd like to have access to more of it. You can do it. Yeah, it's really up to you, like what you guys want to do with it. So
yeah, my bundle contribution, well, I can't speak, was my guide that I have about potato chip quilts. So like I have a guide that's in a handout for my class, but then my second thing for the bundle contribution was a handout and guide about the potato chip quilts and how to figure out what size you want and things like that. So the free part is very valuable.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, from what I saw, it looks great. So yeah, even if you're just mildly curious, go ahead, sign up for the free part. It's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to hurt you any. I mean, go check it out. You may learn quite a bit from it. I mean, that'd be my suggestion. Okay, so Laura comes up with a good question for you. She says, is the summit in US time zone? Because she lives in the UK. But like you were saying before, it's not on a particular scale. it's per day. Like they release a set number of videos that day. So I mean, if you want to hop up at, I guess it wouldn't start. And I don't know what time they released the videos,
I
US
think
time.
it's I think it's 9 Central.
9 Central.
I
So
should
that
know
would
all
make it
this stuff. But yeah, they're
okay.
available to watch after, so you don't have to be on live. So if you're in Europe, I guess they would be hitting around your afternoon, evening time, but it would still be
Yeah,
available then for 48 hours.
it'll be 6 hour UK 6 hours ahead of Central. Mainland Europe would be 7 hours ahead of Central. Yes, it might be early to mid afternoon for you, Lara, but yeah, you don't have to be there. It's not school, so you don't have to be there when class starts. It's on demand. It's kind of like when you come back and watch one of my tutorial videos, really. So okay, so but that was a great question, because yeah, not everybody that watch it. A good part of our audience here is here in the US and Canada, but not everybody. I mean, I have people tuning in from Australia every week, um, all over the place as well. So yeah, and I'm glad that you reached out to me about that, Ginger. Because I said I had no clue this thing even existed until you said something to me about it. So I'm gonna go check it out and see what it's all about.
I probably didn't have a clue before last year when somebody's ad somewhere or some YouTube I watched or something else mentioned it, and I went and looked.
Yeah, and we always have a million scraps. Like it's always nice to um, have an idea of what you could do with it, do with them. I mean, I'm kind of fortunate because like I work with tiny pieces, so I just when I put my patterns together, I just yank all my using my
Right.
solids. I've made like the Fab Farm. I made that with all scraps except for the background. And yeah, I haven't really been to the store for much recently for except backgrounds and backings. Most of the fronts have been from scraps, recently, which is really, really, really nice.
My last video I did was, can you scrap a 3-yard quilt? I love the 3-yard quilt patterns, but because I'm the Copycat Quilter, I like to watch their videos and try to figure out what size the strips are and things like that. And I don't share that on my channel. I'm not here to infringe on anybody's copyright, but I bought their book and was going to see if I could do one of their patterns with scraps. It turned out, it's funny. I think it's cool. And if I had made it just from my own head, I would probably love it. But because it doesn't look the same as theirs, I'm kind of iffy on whether I like it or not. So, but
Yeah,
that was fun to take one of their patterns and I got one of their books, and I may try to do that again. Or you mentioned about having like yardage in your stash. I may pull out some of that yardage and make some using the 3 yards the way they say, just to eat through some of my fabric.
that sounds great. Yes. So, yeah, definitely let us know. I see a couple of people said that they have signed up for it or going to. Yeah, I'd like to see who's coming along. So, yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. So, I'll
Maybe
share
a
the
couple
link
of
in there
like,
one more.
there's going to be a couple of Facebook lives, I think, scheduled around it that you can get in and like chat with the teachers and stuff, but it's not a live class.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of these people would have, the teachers would also have YouTube channels or some
Oh
sort
yeah.
of that sort of thing. So yeah, you might actually find a new favorite or two, which would be fun,
It felt like
especially in the
YouTube
future.
royalty when they asked me and I saw the YouTubers that were, I felt like, oh my gosh, these are the people that I follow and I'm like fangirl of, and I could get to teach with them.
I feel that way a lot of times when I, hear from a lot of people. Like when Laura Lynn pops in, she's like royalty to me. Fallon, Becca, that sort of thing. There, I'm just this little peon floating around in the great YouTube sea. Um, so I definitely get what you mean there.
But you know what's funny about the
Okay.
scraps too, though? I made that quilt, that 3-yard, and I did it from scraps. And after I was through, I looked at my pile that was left over, and I swear it was bigger than the pile when I started. Like, because I picked out all the fabrics and I didn't use all of them, but I laid them out to pick the ones I wanted. And after I was through with the quilt, I look and that pile looked just as big as when I started the quilt. It's like they don't go away.
It does that, but I actually have noticed that over time, because I use mostly solids for my, when I pull from scraps, I have noticed my solid pile is getting a lot smaller. Like it wasn't nearly as big as it once. So it may look like you're not making any progress for the first 2, 3, 4, 7 quilts, but I promise if you continue on with it, it will definitely get smaller, which is nice. And the other thing is too, you don't have to spend time going to the store. It saves you money. I just love the idea. But if you don't like working the scraps, don't do it. This is your fun time. This is your hobby time. You do you. Like, but if you want to work with scraps or try and figure out get some inspiration on what to do with them, this is definitely a great option for you. Katie Cross says she attended loads of last year's summit and signed up for this year. Chloe says she loved the produce section blocks of my scratch. Yeah, I need to get back to work on that again there as well. That's been so much fun. Yeah. And that's like working with these smaller projects with the using the scratch is so much easier because I need a piece of fabric, 3x4 or 4x6 or 6x2 or 2x, that sort of thing there. It's so it's easier for me because I don't need a huge piece of fabric to work with most of the stuff that I want to work with. So
I love your pig. I love that pig block. I thought that was the cutest thing ever.
That was my favorite block out of that thing there, and I think I talked about this last week. I want to make that. I want to make that quilt again. I usually don't make the same quilt twice, just because there's so many beautiful patterns out there. I don't have time to make everything twice. But I gave it to a coworker who had a second child earlier this year, and I missed that quilt. I want one for myself. I don't know what I'm going to do with a baby quilt, but I'll hang it up somewhere. And I want to enter that into the state fair next year. That's my goal, is to finish that one, enter it in the state fair. I think it'd be fun because it's
farm.
Agricultural theme, which is the whole idea of a state fair. Plus the produce section, I also want to enter that. So I may have to do them in 2 separate years. Who knows? Or I may put them in 2 different sections. I've got to finish them first before I can figure that part out, So let's not put the pig before the horse, or the horse before the cart, whatever you want to call it. So, but that is one I want to do again, and I think I have just enough of that pink left over that I can make that pig again. Because he was definitely my favorite. He was so cute, and it was like a grungy type fabric. It just made that pig just pop out, and the background fabric, the green, really made it shine as well. And that was actually a fabric that Becca gave to me last year, so I thank her very much for doing that, because it just made that quilt really shine. Okay, Tammy says Fab Farm starts on, she bought the pattern and the kit recently, and she says it starts on her channel in January. Okay, so I may be joining my friend Tammy in January. Her and I will talk afterwards, but I think that would be a really good idea if her and I kind of work on that together, together/separately on our own channel. So I will talk to you about that, Tammy. I think it's a really good idea, and January is a good timeline for me. Okay, Kate is here with us. Good morning to you as well. She says, do you still have to drag it into your to-do bar? We'll talk about that earlier. The answer to that is yes. I'm hoping to get that started in the next couple of months. I need to get the girls' quilts done. I need to get this one done, a couple of others, and then we're going to try and tackle Toasty in the last quarter of this year. Donna's already volunteered to I don't know, some sort of challenge. She's going to help me out wherever I need it.
I struggle with solids. If I do I mean, that's what I'm doing today. I do try to challenge myself to do stuff that is different, but I do love the blenders. If it's got some color or some variation, but it reads as solid. I like those a lot more than just straight solids.
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of people struggle with them. I'd love to hear in the comments too. Do you prefer solids, blenders, or prints? I love me some blenders, but I do really enjoy my solids, because it is challenging, but it works so well with the smaller pieces. And the nice thing with solids is it's half the price of prints. So I mean, I get more, and that probably was why I started using them so much, is because I got more bang for my buck. But now I just really enjoy using it.
And do people mix? You know, there's some people that I struggle to mix solids into prints. I kind of think it needs to be one or the other, but I'm really trying, especially with the scrappy quilts, to get over that and, you know, just use it with it and see if it works. Well, look at you.
You can mix, yeah, and I'll show this more tomorrow, of course. But I'm actually, yeah, I did a mix of solids and batiks basically on this. And it can be done. I actually did that because I was making 2 quilts and I was like, if I got to buy, what was it, with the backing and the front, I think it was like 12 yards of fabric. I told my wife, I said, if I have to buy this all in prints, it's going to cost me a fortune. So I just mixed it up and it looks absolutely stunning. So, and I did it in rainbow order. So it's not even like I did solid. I was going to do solid batik, but it didn't work out that way. So there's some, you know, there might be some places there's 2 solids together. Sometimes it's, yeah, it's just a hodgepodge, but it turned out really well. Okay.
I'll show you my solids. When I started trying to use them, I broke down and bought like fat quarter packs from, I think it was Connecting Threads, of solids. And so I've got this storage thing and I've used quite a few because it was all the way full. But this has been fun so that I had colors of things. I mean, it was an investment to start with, but it's nice that I had like a huge variety of colors. And because I do with the more scrappy, I don't want 8 yards of some, not 8. I don't want a full yard of a single solid, hardly. I did buy 2 bolts. I bought a bolt of like an off-white and a bolt of black because it was like 7 or 8 a yard if you bought the bolt instead of pieces. So I do have those and I cut into those a whole lot. I actually used up the whole bolt of the off-white recently.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's I going to say? Oh yeah, solids is good. Yeah, I think the first time I used them a lot was I actually bought and this is another idea if you want to try use solids for the first time, is Kona, and I'm sure everybody else has one as well. They have a jelly roll of them, and I bought one of those once, and it's the only time I've ever used a jelly roll. But I used it and cut it up to make a temperature quilt, and that's a good way to use it because I just cut it down into, I think, like 5.5 inches or whatever it was. I need to do a tutorial on it, but I know some of my friends have already done some wonderful tutorials on temperature quilts. If you're interested in making one, go check out the different ones that are out there, because there's so many different variations and they're all beautiful. And you know,
I did one for my grandson. He was born on New Year's Eve, so it was from New Year's Eve to New Year's Eve of the next year, and I did 2 chisel pieces, so they were rectangular for the high and low. But when I gave it to him, I'm like, you know, last year might not have had 365 days, and there may not have been 12 months because I got so, and some of the months might have had 15 days because I tried to keep track, and it was just like an organizational nightmare for me. So it's definitely not perfect, but the idea comes across, and it turned out really pretty. I used like blues for the cooler colors and then greens for kind of the middle and summer, and then, or greens for like spring and fall more. And then like reds and oranges for the summer when it was supposed to be hot. And he was born on New Year's Eve in West Virginia. And the high that day was like 56. It was like an incredibly warm day. So there's one like yellow stuck in all these blues for the wintertime.
And that's the fun part of a temperature quilt when you do it like that. That's how I did mine. I didn't do the high and the low. With mine, I did heat index when it was hot. I did wind chill when it was cold to give myself a little more variety. And then idea. If you are doing this long term, writing down the temperature each day is a real pain in the tuchus. So there is several websites out there. I think I used Weather Underground. If you look up historical weather data, go look up if you forget a day or 2 or 7, or if you forget about it for 3 months, like I do with my projects, you can go to historical weather data. If you Google that, so I think Weather Underground's the one I use, but you can use, you know, whatever one works best for you. You can type in your location and it'll give you the temperature for each day for the last, I don't know how many years. And you can do it that way. And what I ended up doing was I made one for my sister and she made one for me. And I love the one that she made for me, and it's really interesting because mine has all the reds in the middle because we did it by we had 12 rows. Each row was a month, and then we just put in black for like the days that had less than 31 days. And so mine has all the warm colors at the top and the bottom, and hers has all the red in the middle because she's in Australia. So it's totally opposite. Like mine, yeah, it's very, very different.
And the Weather Underground, it has like different weather stations. So I literally found one that was like a mile away from their house. I mean, because they live in a small town and that's where the weather station was. So it was really cool. It's like, it was more precise than I was, but it turned out as a pretty quilt.
That's the main thing. It was nice. So there you go.
You can pick whatever block or, just whatever you want to do. I've seen people do it with the square with a circle in the middle. And those are really cool. I think is her name Terry Redland? I think maybe she's a YouTube, and she did the color wash kind of things with a smaller square and then a circle in the center. And those turned out really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if it's something you're interested in, I recommend going and looking at several videos, seeing what works best for you. Like, I love seeing temperature quilts at quilt shows. It's one of the things that I'm drawn to. I just like seeing the creativity from people. Mine was super basic. I started off with a jelly roll just to get myself started. I ended up going back to the fabric store and buying a 1/4 yard of each of the 42 colors. I'm still working on some of those scraps, but we won't talk about that. But it was really nice to get started on that. But I just did 2.5 inch by, I think, 5.5 or 5. I can't remember the exact measurement. I'd have to go measure it. But I just made mine super simple. Each day was a rectangle. I've seen people do like little houses. Some people do high and low, like you talked about. Sometimes people put embellishments on it, like snowflakes or, hurricanes or, that sort of thing there as well. It's so fun. So, and I have an idea for like a variation on a temperature quilt that I want to release at some point, but I have to get it together first. I planned on doing it this year. Hasn't happened. Will happen next year. Who knows? It might be 2029 before I get around to it. But
well, it was funny because it was New Year's Eve to New Year's Eve, because it was the first year, and Dean was asking me about. They were coming for Christmas. And I'm like, well, it's not going to be ready for Christmas because there's like 6 more days left. And he said, well, couldn't you just like guess those? And I'm like, no, I have to have the real one. Well, they ended up delaying their trip and they didn't come until February. So I actually had it finished for the Christmas gift, which would have been 5 days before the last block on it.
That's funny. It kind of sounds like mine because, we did, it was 26. I think we did it for the 2016 year. And we will go to meet each, like my sister was supposed to come visit me like a year or so later. And so I figured, okay, I've got plenty of time to get this thing finished. And then we ended up having to go to Australia early the next year after my brother passed away. So like my temperature quilt's like 4/5 done. And I'm like, oh, I better get going on this. And so I ended up like the night before we flew out, I'm sitting here sewing like a madman and getting the quilt top put together. And then I got down there and she hadn't finished hers. And she was very, very upset about it. And I was like, don't even worry about it. I said, just give it to me. Like she had all the pieces cut out. She hadn't sewn it together. I'm like, just give it to me. Let me throw it together. And I finished piecing that. And then I came home and quilted it once I returned to the US. And it sits on my chair here. I bundle under it all the time. When people come to visit, they sit under it all the time. So it gets a lot of use here.
So I made a quilted wall hanging for someone one time for Christmas. And in the car on the way there, I was hand sewing the binding down. I had the box to put it in, and I think it was just like a gift bag. But literally hand sewing the binding on the way to give it to them. It worked. Okay. They got it.
Yep. So Kathy says here, I wanted to do a temperature quilt before. What fun would it be to have an almost red quilt? Here in Louisiana, we have hot and hotter. And so we run into that problem here in Virginia as well in the summer. Like it's humid. Like it's going to be 95, 96, 97 the whole summer. That's why I did heat index, because if you do it like on a 2-degree variation and you do heat index or wind chill, it actually gives you that like go look it up on whether go look up your historical data and see if there's a variation, because then you can, it's your quilt, your rules. You can do 5-degree separations in the middle, but when it gets hot, do a 1-degree separation. And then that way you will get that little bit of variation as well. You just got to sit there and play it. And if you need inspiration or assistance, let me know. I'll help you out wherever I can.
Who was that said that? Because I think, was that the same person when I was on live last time, that I'm from Louisiana and we knew like the same locations?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, that's just Kathy from My Hobby Home. Yeah, I'm almost certain it's the same lady.
Because even using the heat index, you would still have the same number every day. It would still be hot and humid.
Well, in that case, you guys, you can do a little rain that day. Like you can have a hot, no rain. You can have a hot, afternoon shower. You can have a hot, absolute downpour that day. Like you make up the rules. Like there is no temperature quilt police, and if they are, tell them to go away. Mike says, yes, some temperature quilts are crazy detailed, and that's one of the reasons I love seeing the quilt shows, because it's interesting to read the story behind them. Because yes, some of them are crazy detailed. Mine was just heat index, wind chill, and that was it. So, but yeah, some people do a lot of detail in them, and it's a lot of fun. So there we go. All right.
You could have a very monochromatic quilt if you're in Louisiana, hot and humid every day.
And you can mix up, whether you do solids or you could do blended. You could have a lot of fun with it. So something to consider. All right. Simona is asking, am I free motioning? Yes and no. I'm cheating. I'm actually just using the regular foot, regular feed dogs. I'm just going around in circles. Well, squares, whatever you want to call it. I prefer to do it when I'm doing straight lines like this. I prefer to do it this way because I know my stitch length's going to be even. And I'm sure the quilt police will come yell at me, but again, it's my project, my rules, my way. So there we go. All right. So Becca is here with us. Good morning to Miss Becca. She says good morning. Just got up. Just thought I'd catch the tail end of the live while she quilts her cathedral windows. That is such a beautiful project. She is doing such a great job with that. And I'm so excited to see how that ends up when she is finished quilting it. So yeah, very cool.
The cathedral windows?
Yeah, she if you go check, I think she put it on her Facebook group page recently. I think it's on Instagram as well. She is making a small doll quilt that is about the same size as this, and she made it with, I think it's a white background if my memory serves me correctly, and a bunch of jewel tones, and she made the cathedral windows. It's each section is tiny. It looks absolutely stunning. It belongs in QuiltCon, in my opinion, and I'm very excited to see how it looks when it is all quilted. I got to see the quilt top, which is fun, but yeah, it's going to be even better once she has finished quilting, and I'm very excited.
Did you use that where you do it on the bias and roll?
I don't know how she made it. I just sort of finished. I haven't made it. I'm too scared to try that just yet. I have other things I want to do. I'd love to try it one day. I think I might wait till Becca puts out a tutorial and then follow along with that. Or I might just go up to her house one day and go, okay, look, now it's time to teach me. We will see. That's not going to be anytime soon. I've got to get Toasty done first, I think. So we'll see. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to see how she does with that.
I've seen somewhere they do the square, and so then like the diagonal across the square is bias. So they sew the square into the edge and then just kind of roll it. Since it's bias, it'll roll backwards and you can make it look like a curve. Yeah.
Okay. So she says she's been filming this every step of the way and release the video when the quilt is done. Okay. So yeah, definitely keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. Becca does an amazing job with her tutorial video, or all the videos really. But yeah, if you want to learn, she is an amazing teacher. You'll do very well with that. So yeah, I'll definitely watching that when it comes out.
I'm a fangirl.
I think we all are. Like, I don't think there's anyone out there that doesn't love Becca. So that's a good thing. Okay. Fallon says Cathedral Windows a bucket list pattern. Yeah, I really would like to try it. I saw some I've seen my different quilt shows, and especially QuiltCon this year. I think they had a few of them. Unless I'm getting my quilt shows mixed up, which is always entirely possible. Be fun to try one day, but yeah, I think there'll be a learning curve of that. Okay.
I like to try stuff, and then you find out what you like or not. If you don't ever try.
Yeah.
I know I'm doing curves here, and some people are really intimidated by curves. And if I had to sew them, into like a very precise thing, I couldn't. But sewing them freeform, and these are just curves. And I saw some videos about how to hold your hands and guide the fabric in, kind of scissoring it, I guess. And you only look about 1/4 of an inch in front of your needle. You don't try to line up the whole thing. And doing it that way, whoever did that video, I should give them a lot of credit. But it just made it easy to make a curve.
Yeah. And I need to learn curves. That's on my short list of stuff to do. Maybe that might be next year's job. Work that out. But yeah, it's interesting that you can do that. But I think that's where I was going. The cathedral quilt, I think Becca was smart to do a small quilt, because I think if I was going to, I'm going to say when, not if. When I try a cathedral quilt, I'd like to try something smallish like what she did. So instead of trying to tackle a huge one that's going to take me 20 years and I'll get bored halfway through, I think if I do it a smallish one, I'll be more likely to finish it.
Well, and that's one of those ones that's more precise that I would struggle with. I have AccuQuilt's Drunkard's Path block die, and it has a little notch to help you line up, and I've never even used it. I've never even tried it that way, because when I found this way to just cut them on top of each other, and I like doing this, but it's never going to look precise. And I'm okay with that.
That's all right. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, even the best quilts in a quilt show they're going to be very close to perfect, but I could almost guarantee you that they're not going to be perfect. So, all right, Laura said she had to disappear. So thank you for joining us this morning. It's already 9 o'clock. Geez, time is just flying away. So, all right, let's throw up we haven't talked about food yet. So let's see, favorite type of cookie. Love to hear in the comments as well. In the chat, if you are watching the replay, I'd love to hear your answers in the comments as well. I always love seeing responses from everybody. So do you have a favorite type of cookie?
Chocolate chip, of course.
Okay. It's a classic, but it's a good one.
And it's even better if it's got pecans in it. They're not
Every
pecans,
cookie's better with
they're pecans, but yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. For me, I think it's going to be the white macadamia, white chocolate macadamia cookie. I love those things, but my cookies have to be soft. If they're I don't like a crunchy cookie. It has to be a soft cookie.
Oh.
Okay,
I can tell you, McDonald's has fantastic chocolate chip cookies. They have the best. It's like they're better than the Nestle's Toll House my mom made when I was a kid. And if you go there, a lot of times they don't have them ready, so they have to pop them in the microwave and cook them for you. And then they're nice and gooey and falling apart. They're wonderful.
See, that's one place that I don't know why they didn't do it here, but McDonald's was really missing out here in the US, because they have them at cafe here in the US, but in Australia they had that too, and they developed it back in the mid-90s, if memory serves me correctly. And it's almost like you have McDonald's on one side, and then the McCafe was almost like a little Starbucks. It had a wonderful little section of all the cookies, all the slices, all that sort of stuff there. And so when they brought the McCafe here, I was like, oh, great, we got to have that as well. And no, they just, they only did it halfway. Like, they missed out on an opportunity. Like, I think they really could have given Starbucks a good run for their money, but they just, didn't do it properly. I don't know why. But anyway,
That's just what they call their coffee now, right? I mean, isn't there coffee like McCafe?
It is. I mean, I think they have a couple of things here and there, but yeah, it's not like it was in Australia where, I think if they did that, it would have been really, really good. Because it worked out nicely. Like we would go like when we were in Australia, we'd go there and like if you wanted a McMuffin, you could get a McMuffin, but my mother would like the banana bread. So she could go over to the McCafe side and get a cup of tea and banana bread. Like everyone was happy. But I don't work for McDonald's corporate, so that's on them. All right, let's see. Okay, Catherine says my favorite old-fashioned Aussie Kiss biscuit with homemade raspberry jam. That sounds good. I can be about that life. Jess and Becca says the oatmeal raisin and peanut butter cookie. I love me a good oatmeal raisin cookie. I'd forgotten about them. That is awesome. Okay, did we get any other answers for our cookies? Oh, yeah, Monkey Man says homemade sugar cookies. Those are good as well. So Quilty of Melissa says white chocolate macadamia nut as well. And Monster Cookie from Randy Bishop. Kifley Cookies. I'm going to have to look that one up because I have no idea what that is. See, I'm learning stuff here. Cappy and Balance says Snickerdoodle. Mona says peanut butter with peanut butter cup on top. I can about that life as well.
Those are good. Those are good.
Yeah, Nutter Butter. I tried the Nutter Butters, like the candy bar. It's not my favorite. I don't mind them, but they're not my favorite.
Are those sugar cookies with a candy kiss in the middle? Those are really good too, where you put the candy kiss in while it's hot. That's like the peanut butter ones. I always think of those as Christmas cookies because I guess I don't know a lot of people that bake cookies all the time, but at Christmas time, those kind of cookies come out.
All right, I'm just trying to figure out where I am.
You were talking about what color thread you were using to hide it, so now you can't find it yourself.
Yeah. Okay, I am where I thought I was. Okay, that's a good thing. I'm going around in a circle, and then I'm traveling up one of the seams, and I want it to be on the same seam each time. Just because I'm OCD like that. Okay, and away we go. Okay, Michelle says she'll send me a copy of the recipe I want. Yeah, go for it. I'm always up for a good recipe. I am not a good cookie baker, but I'm always willing to try. I don't make them too soft or too hard. I'm not like Goldilocks, unfortunately, where it's just right. Candace says McDonald's has some of the worst service around me. Yeah, here it depends on which store you go to. There's some McDonald's that are fantastic. And there's some that I'll avoid like the plague. So yeah.
The corporate stores, the ones that are corporate stores, because they have corporate and then franchise. The corporate ones are always the cleanest and I don't know, fastest service. I guess they probably modernize them more or update them more frequently.
Yeah, here it seems like who's managing the place because like ours are pretty much all franchise, and it seems like the one owner will have 5 or 6 restaurants, and there's like one near my office, which is very convenient, but horrible service. Like, I could go, get the cow, butcher the cow, grind it up, and still cook it in less time it takes those people to make something. But I can go to the same owner's store 2 miles down the street, fantastic service. So yeah, I think the corporate thing's probably a good indicator too, but I think it definitely depends on the staff and the management. But that's just my view.
We're such McDonald's aficionados.
But we'll move on to something more positive than the like a service at your local McDonald's. I try to keep everything positive here, as there's enough negativity around without us getting too involved in that. Okay, Catherine says good night to everyone. She says the footy is finished. It'll be a long day tomorrow. Bye everyone, because she's in Tasmania and it's 11 p.m. there. So I'd be turning in for bed as well if I was down there. Okay. Hey, Candace says that she's been to the one in Times Square a few times. It was okay, but better than mine. Okay, that's interesting. I was thinking be in Times Square, but when I go to New York, I try to sample the local cuisine. I mean, I can go to McDonald's anywhere, so I try to find a local restaurant. Anytime I
Oh,
travel, really, we try to stay away from the chains wherever we can, just because if you go into a new place, you want to sample what the locals are eating. But that's just me. I mean, you do you as well.
so I went
Okay.
to
Good morning,
India.
Jen.
I went to India on a trip one time, and I sponsored a little girl through a charity,
Uh-huh.
and we actually got to meet her, and we were in Bangalore, and she and a couple of teachers from her school came and everything, and we, went shopping and just walked around Bangalore. We ate at Kentucky Fried Chicken in Bangalore because it's like, they were excited to do it. I guess to them it was like exciting restaurant to get to go in, and they had soft
Yeah.
serve ice cream. So we ate at Kentucky Fried Chicken in Bangalore.
How was it? Good, bad? The KFC. Was it
It
good,
was okay.
bad?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, because like that's one I don't eat KFC here in the US. It's
I don't
everywhere I've been,
either.
it's horrible. But in Australia, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite places to go to in Australia. And it's interesting, like the menu, I'm sure in India is different to what it is here because like it's different in Australia a little bit. I've heard in
Yeah.
Japan it's totally different. So yeah, it's very interesting that that's one place you do go where it's different depending on where you go.
But too, in India, it was kind of safe. It's like a lot
Yeah,
of the restaurants and stuff. You had to, not that it's unclean or anything. It's just different. There's just different germs. Whenever people from other countries come here, sometimes they get sick from the water because there's just
yeah,
different microcosms, whatever. But it felt like kind of a safe place, I guess, for us to eat. But there were other times we ate in, like family owned restaurants or whatever. And we would always ask for bottled water because nobody wanted to get sick on the trip. And so
yeah.
sometimes you would get a bottle of water, and like the little ring was different than the color of the cap. So it had been opened and like a completely different cap put on it. So you had to be like, can I get like a sealed water bottle?
Yeah, that was one thing they told us when we went to Nicaragua, which is in Central America for anyone that doesn't know. And that was one of the things they told us. If you ever get bottled water or anything like that, make sure that the
The
security
ring.
seal's on there. Because yeah, if you drink the water down there, um, you don't need to drink very much of it, and I'm speaking from experience, to get sick.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way. I accidentally ingested maybe 2 or 3 drops when I was taking a shower one day, and that was enough to set me off. So thankfully, I wasn't overly sick. I just wasn't well for it took 2 weeks for me, my digestive system to return to normal. We'll just, I mean, it's probably the most polite way to say it. I think it'd be fun to go to India, but if I go or when I go, I'm going to take my coworker with me. He's from Mumbai, and so I figure I'll take the local with me and let him show me around.
Yeah, when I went, I was with some people that I knew that went over there to be missionaries. And so it was cool to be with, I mean, they were local, to
Yeah,
to get to see the stuff that's not always on the tourist path.
and that's what I'd like to do. Yeah, so I've told Sandesh already. I was like, yeah, one of these days, like I'd never had any interest in going to India before I met him, and now I'm like, I'd love to go see your homeland, your culture, and that sort of thing there. So one of these days, I'll make the flight over there, and I'll just let him take me around.
You would be a big hit, a very, very tall white man. You would be like a novelty because I mean, even they show a lot of deference to white people or white Americans, probably people with your accent too. But uh, you would be like looked at and pointed at on the street because of your height.
That's true, and I'm very, very shy, so I don't know how I'd feel about that. But it was kind of like that when I went to Nicaragua. Like all the little kids would come running up to me and that sort of thing there. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's very true. Okay, bye. Mona has to just duck off. So that's good. Okay, let's throw out one more question just for kicks and giggles. And I don't know how many of you do this, but what was your latest Netflix slash Hulu slash, I don't know, whatever streaming service you like most binge? Or if you still watch regular network TV and you're watching a fun show, let us know in the chat or the comments which one you're watching, because I sometimes get the greatest ideas. I talk about this at work all the time, and half the time I don't know what they're talking about. But I have actually picked up some shows that I've enjoyed from listening to others.
I forgot what the name of it was, but we watched one the other night that it was only 3 episodes, and we usually, like, sometimes even only watch a half of an episode. We watched all 3 in that night. It was American something, which doesn't help a whole lot. But the first word was American, I think, and it was like American Nightmare or something. But it was about this woman that was kidnapped. It's a true story. And
Right.
people didn't believe she was kidnapped. And the first episode, I guess, was from her boyfriend's point of view, and they accused him and thought it was him. And he had this weird story about guys in wetsuits came in the middle of the night and took her. And just, I mean, you're sitting there going, there's no way this is true. And then the next episode was from her point of view. And, you know, again, the police were even talking about charging both of them with like making a fraudulent report or whatever. And then the third episode was the actual case and what happened and everything. It was like a stunner. It was so engrossing, and it's one of those things you're just like, you just couldn't believe, like, these people are just lying. And yeah. Don't want to spoil it, but it was interesting.
I sometimes say that truth's stranger than fiction, so I guess that's very, very much the case. Yeah. I like watching, you know, true crime and that sort of thing on occasion as well. My sister likes that as well. Okay, let's see who responded here. Okay, so Melanie says that Wednesday is what she's watching. The Resident is what Melissa's watching. Valen's rewatching Criminal Minds. I've watched some of that, but I haven't watched the whole. I'm like maybe the first couple of seasons. Kathy says she binges Hallmark Christmas movies that have snow on it. My wife.
Oh my gosh.
Well, it's fun how they can do the same plot line 40 times, but they still make it interesting. Like, you know what's going to happen. Everything's just a little bit different. Bridgerton is what Diana says. Yep. Melanie Taylor says The Chosen season 4. Mike says he's awful. He binges Real Housewives marathons all day. Just, hey, whatever makes you happy. You know, like, there's a lot of people that like the Real Housewives. If they didn't, they wouldn't keep spending all those hundreds and thousands of dollars producing that every year. So there you go. Early NCIS, and we always joke about that here because I think they talk about Virginia Beach or something in NCIS, and there's like mountains and all that sort of stuff in the background, and we're like, there's not the first mountain in Virginia Beach. Well, Mount Trashmore, but that's about it. Mount Trashmore is one of the city parks. It used to be a trash dump, and it's like this mountain, like this hill that's maybe 60 feet high, maybe 300 or 400 feet long. It's a beautiful park now, but it used to be a dump right in the middle of the city, and they turned it into a beautiful park. And it's called Mount Trashmore because it used to be a pile of trash. But that's about the only mount.
I was going to say, it's funny about the Hallmark Christmas movies because they're very, very formulaic. I mean, you're right. It's going to be, and I heard something the other day. It's like a woman that went to the city and became a big city slicker and comes home and bakes cookies. But they're also, I watch Lifetime movies in here when I'm sewing, or I don't watch. They're on the TV, and it's like you can look up every now and then and you know what's going on. You know, it's because it's formulaic. You don't have to pay so much attention to it, but. Yeah, people make fun of them, but they're also like romance novels, you know, like the Harlequin romance novels and stuff, especially when I was in my 20s or 30s. You know, the first guy she met that she hated, they were going to get together. And it was just like, that was how it was going to happen. So you know, it's like comforting to read one that you know the formula to.
And that's what I was going to say. It is very comforting because, and it's something nice to, you know, if you're doing something else, it's nice background noise because you don't have to sit there and follow along. Like there's some stuff you do have to follow along. But it's funny you mentioned the Harlequin novels because I have very, very fond memories of those. My first job after school was in a large department store, very similar to Target, Walmart, that sort of thing there. And those novels came out and they were only on sale for 2 or 3 months or something. And then if they didn't sell, you had to rip the covers off and then send the covers back to get your credit. And so I spent many a day in the storeroom ripping covers off the back of these books. So I never read them, but I handled many a novel with my time ripping the covers off. was oddly satisfying, actually. So
Destroying books. There you go,
I
Sean.
was destroying books, and I was getting paid for it. So Ned says she watched Suits. Kathy says it's the only way she gets snow. I figured that's why she talked about the ones with snow. Randy says she's been watching Jag on Prime Video. All 10 years of episodes are finally available to stream. That's awesome. And then Monkey Man has been watching Heartland and Virgin River. Okay, very nice. So gives me some ideas. I'm trying to think of the last. I watch pretty much everything on. I like watching documentaries and stuff on YouTube. Like, there's always something that I'm watching. So I guess I'm
We're
doing very
watching
good.
We're watching The Lady in the Lake right now. It's on Amazon Prime, I think, or maybe Apple. But it's really good, and Natalie Portman's in it. It's from the 50s or 60s, and
Okay.
it's been really interesting. Just I love watching the clothes and the cars and things like that too. You know, it's a crime, a murder mystery kind of thing, but I'd like to watch those that are in the 50s or 60s and see the clothing and that kind of
That's
thing.
always, yeah, that's always fun. So, well, we'll probably wrap things up in about 5 or 10 minutes. Do you have anything fun going on coming up on your channel? I mean, we talked about your teaching moment in the scrap. I can never remember the name of it. I am terrible.
Conquer Your Fabric Scrap Summit. It doesn't just roll off the tongue.
No,
No, I'm kind of glad that my part is done on that because it took a lot of work. I mean, it was more than I expected. Because when she asked, I was so honored. I didn't really think, oh, how hard is this going to be? But I think that Bigfoot quilt is probably next. So I'm doing the Siamese Kitten paper piecing challenge. And once I get that done, I'll figure out how I'm going to work that into the Bigfoot. It's got cryptids. I think that's the word. It was a new word I learned. It's got a Bigfoot panel, but then the fabric that goes with it has like mythical monsters. I can't even remember any of the names of them, but my kids knew them. So it's just kind of funny with all these mythical monsters. And then Truffles is going to be in there. He's the one that's a chef, and her name is Truffles. So it's going to be kind of funny that Truffles will be in there with all the mythical monsters. So I'm looking forward to that. I can do the paper piecing thing. I may make a video of it, depending on how confident I am it's not going to look ridiculous, and then figure out how I'm going to put that into that panel quilt. I like doing the panels and trying to figure out a challenge around them rather than just borders and borders, you know.
That's fun. I'm looking forward to seeing the final result on that one as well. When you said Bigfoot, the first thing that goes to my mind, obviously, is the Bigfoot pattern by Elizabeth Hartman, which is like all these trees and there's like big Sasquatch in one section. But I figured, since you don't follow patterns a whole lot, I figured that's probably not what it is. So I've been very curious to see.
It's probably like a yard. It's a huge panel, with a picture of Bigfoot on it. And it's cool. Probably a yard. It's a lot bigger than normal panels. But he's the tall one too, so I want to make a big quilt so that it covers his feet. So it's called like Legends of the National Parks, and that fabric that's got the national parks on it, and they have panels of the national parks, and then they have prints that go with it. I can't remember who the manufacturer is. Well, this one's called Legends of the National Parks, and it's all these mythical monsters.
I think I've seen that. That looks like a lot of fun. I haven't seen it in person. But I have seen, if it's the one I'm thinking of, I have seen that online. That looks like a lot of fun. So, you'll have to definitely check out Ginger's channel. Just stay tuned for all the updates. I'll throw her link in. And then you can also use !guest for any of my guests as well. So, there we go.
That's one thing I really love. I love about your channel, Sean, is you like to help people out that have other channels, and you're always sharing about that. And that's really cool, because a lot of people are very protective, like Facebook groups where you can't even put the name of your channel or anything, or they call it spamming. So I think it's cool that I know a lot of the people, that are online with you right now are people that have been on here before, and it's nice. It makes a community.
Well, thank you. I mean, I really enjoy. I think the community is definitely big enough for all of us. And I was very, very much helped at the beginning. Becca was one of the big proponents. She gave me some shout outs. She promoted me quite a bit at the beginning to kind of get my name out there. Quilting with Stephanie Stitches was another, and I've just been trying to pay it forward ever since. And it's fun being able to chat and get to meet all these new people. I don't like going live by myself. I much prefer to have a guest. So it's really grown into this great little thing where I get to enjoy talking to other quilty, because this is probably, honestly, like, I think this is some of the only time I get to talk to other quilty people, because yeah, I don't think I have one co-worker at work that I talk to once in a while because she works on the other side of the building. She comes over and does show and tell with me sometimes and that sort of thing there. But other than that, yeah, if I'll chat to people online, like with Messenger and that sort of stuff there, but actually to sit there and sew with somebody, even on a Zoom, this is about as close as I get as well. So it's for a lot of reasons I really, really enjoy this, and the audience loves it as well. I mean, I hear all the time, I love seeing who's coming up next and that sort of thing there. So thank you. Right. And there we go. All right. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and say farewell in just a moment. Actually, let me get to this point and I'll try and show you what I've actually achieved. I have gotten so much more done than I ever hoped. I need to do more quilting on my lives, it seems. That'd be a good question to throw out there real quick. Do you enjoy seeing the quilting aspect here on the lives, or do you prefer to see the piecing? I would really, really like to know. Let me know in the comments as well if you're watching the replay, which you would prefer to see more of, or would you just like to see a mix? Either answer. You know what? We have a poll. Let's throw a poll up real quick since we have just a few moments. Oh, where did it go? Oh, there it is. Wrong button. Okay.
I managed to make 5 of my curved blocks. I don't know if I'll arrange them that way, but it was fun. I pinned them to one of the quilts that's hanging on my wall here, and whenever I'm on, that's my work desk behind me. Whenever I'm on camera there, they can see that quilt. And somebody said something about the other day about, oh, you changed it. And I was like, it's because it's got a bunch of blocks pinned on it that haven't been made into another quilt yet. It's not my design wall, but it's my storage facility, I guess.
Yeah, my design wall is the floor. You see it on occasion, and sometimes they even get a bonus dog. So every time I lay a quilt down to take a picture of it, one of the dogs hops down to say hi. I just started this. Oh, that's.
I joke I may be one of the only quilters that does. I don't have any pets now. I've always had pets, but not now. And I actually am planning, whenever I get the Bigfoot quilt done, my son plans to like sprinkle catnip around the block with truffles because she likes catnip, and we may be able to get a picture of her on the quilt, but she's not the kind like you can call over, and ask her to get on the quilt. So right. We've got a plan to get her in the spot so I can be I can at least have a picture of a cat somewhere on my quilting channel.
That's funny. Yeah, no, like every time I lay it down, it's almost like they're like, oh, cool, I've got a new blanket to sit on. Yeah. Bandit, we had a long-haired dachshund. He used to love sitting on the quilt, and usually I shoo the dogs away, but everyone seemed to like the picture of Copper sitting on the quilt last time. So I don't know, maybe I'll take 2 pictures next time, one with the dogs and one without.
I think her name is Emily. I'm terrible about knowing people's name or their channel name, but she does the 3-yard quilts. Like last year, every week it's called something rad. But she has a cat named Trixie.
Oh, yeah, terribly rad. Emily, yeah, she's a lovely lady. I had her on once. She was part of my first quilt trunk show that I do right around Christmas time. Yeah, she was a fun lady to hang out with. We never had her on a live because she's out there in Los Angeles, if I remember correctly, somewhere out there in California. So 5 a.m. start for her. It's a little much to ask.
I love every time she's spreading her quilt on the floor to sandwich it, I guess, or whatever. Trixie comes and gets in the middle of it. She's always helping her, and she does the sped up version. And yes. It looks like she's hitting Trixie because she's shooing her off, but because it's fast, it looks like she's smacking her.
Yeah, let me show. I have her. I'm almost certain I still have her link.
She's a fun channel to watch.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, Emily's a lot of fun. She does a lot of long arming. I don't see her videos as often as I should. I just don't have the time, unfortunately. But she is a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely go check out Emily's channel. She's doing very, very well from what I've seen recently.
She had the ladies from Fabric Cafe that do those 3-yard quilt books. She was on their channel and kind of did an interview because I think last year she did, like, that was her challenge, was to do practically everyone in their book. And so they had her on their channel, and then they came on her channel to talk about it. So it was fun.
That's fun. Okay, so it looks like, let's look at the poll real quick before we run away. Okay, Rhonda says she loves monsters. She did Elizabeth Hartman's pattern. I love that pattern. I have to try that one day. Okay, let's see. End poll. Where did my results go? Where did you go? Oh, there it is. Okay, so 73% of people said it both doesn't matter. Some 13% is quilting and piecing is 13%. So basically what you're saying for the majority of you is that it doesn't matter. So that's good to know. I always love these things. Baker says, for what it's worth, what I really enjoy is the banter between you and your guests. What you work on is secondary. And that's good to hear as well. You know, I kind of figured that, but it's always nice to get feedback from the audience because I can kind of guess what you want to see, but I don't always know. So that's one reason I like asking questions. Anyway, so before I keep you too much longer, this is what I've gotten done so far. You might be able to see the quilting. I don't know if you can or not.
That's nice. That's the straight lines, right? You have like the diagonal.
It's just straight lines. It's going kind of following the diamonds, I guess you can call it. So I'll try and take a better photo and show it on tomorrow's podcast. But yeah, I'm planning on doing. I'm kind of thinking like maybe doing ribbon candy, like the curvature on around the border, just for something different. That's kind of what I'm thinking. If you have a better idea, send me an email, send me a text, whatever it is. I'd love to hear ideas. But I'm thinking I will do something a little bit different around the border. But I thought about doing something different on the corners, but I think I'm just going to continue doing this all the way out just to make my life a lot easier. So there we go. All right. So with that, I am going to say goodbye because we're past our 90 minutes. My friend Donnell should be on in about 25 minutes over at her channel, Donnell Stitchery. And then at 11 o'clock, you can go check out my friends Russ and Tammy. 2 different channels, 2 different lives. And then Laura Lynn will be live at 1 p.m. And then Stephanie at 5, and I think that's it. But I also have a live schedule posted as well, which I need to update as well. So you can always check out who's going live when. That's like just a regular thing. I don't update it every week. I just update it when people tell me. So it's also a nice little handy guide. If you haven't seen, go check it out because that way it kind of gives you an idea of who is live when. And I refer to it myself a lot because I can never remember who's going live when either, unless it's Saturday morning. So thank you so much, Ginger, for joining me. It was so much fun hanging out with you and chatting and that sort of thing there. I wonder when someone was going to ask me that. Jeannie is going to ask me, am I entering that quilt into a show? I've been trying to keep this quiet. I figured I'd release this information at some point. Let's just go ahead and say now, yes, this will be going into the state fair.
That's very pretty.
Yeah. So there we go. It'll go on the state fair. I don't know. We'll announce it later on. There's something else with that, but yeah, this is gonna be my state fair quilt. I went back and forth so much on what I was going to enter into the state fair, and then the snippets thing came up, and I was like, this will be fun for a small quilt. Let's throw this in the show and see what happens. It is not perfect, but again, nothing's perfect. We got to put it in. This is it's got to look pretty, and if nothing else, it hopefully gets a ribbon, and if not, it's going to look beautiful up there in October when it returns. So there we go. So oh yes, and Mike will be live tonight with Jean over at Jean Brittenham. I can never get her last name right. Is it on your channel, Mike, or is it on Jean's? Let me know real quick before we run off. Did I name the quilt yet? No. Right now, I've just referred to it as a snippets quilt. Let me know in the comments if you want what you would call this quilt. I'd love to hear that. Or maybe we should call it Tombstone. I don't know. Like, I have not come up with a name for the quilt yet. Right now, it's a snippets quilt. But if you all have a better idea, I am all ears as well. So,
I like that name. I like the name Snippets.
Snippets. Okay. Well, we may just stick with snippets. I have not the first problem with that whatsoever. Okay, so it's okay. So 8 p.m. tonight, we'll be over at Jean's channel. I'll throw her link in real quick. Thank you, Mike. And then next week will be on Mike. So Jean and Mike are going to alternate. Who does their on which channel is hosting their 8 p.m. So if you need an evening live, that will be a wonderful option for you too. Mike is a lot of fun. Jean is a lot of fun. And putting the two of them together, I think it's going to be an absolute hoot. I'm going to have to go over and check that out as well. Jeannie's asking, where is the state fair held? It is in Doswell, Virginia. It's about 25 minutes north of Richmond. So it's almost in the center of our state, which is really, really nice. So, good morning, Miss Martha. It is so good to see you. Are we having a snippet party? We are. We made a quilt top. I'm actually in the middle of quilting it. We're going to take a little break since the live's just about over. But that's what we're doing. I'll text you later on, kind of catch you up, or you can go back and watch the replay as well. Okay, so yeah, go check out all my friends, Donnell, Russ, and all the rest, Mike and Jean, all that good stuff later on. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me today. It's been so much fun. Thank you, Ginger, once again for hanging out with me. It's always a pleasure having you. Go check out her channel if you haven't done so already. Happy sewing. Go see all my friends, and I hope you'll have a great day, and I'll see all of you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Happy sewing. Bye.
Thank you.